Reading through the Bible in a year in the 1 Year Bible, and this is the devotion for August 21st. And we will pick up the book of Job and try to follow that through. So Job chapter 1 verse 1 through chapter 3 verse 26 is our section for today. And as we look at Job, the book of Job, we're introduced to Job the man right away, who was blameless and upright and who feared God and turned away from evil. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters, 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 female donkeys. He was called the greatest of all the people of the East. His family had a rotating feast, it seems, for each of the sons' houses. They would go to one after the other and have a little bit of a party, I guess you could say. And when the cycle was done, Job would consecrate his family by rising early in the morning and offering burnt offerings to God so that there would be forgiveness for his children. Somehow Satan presents himself before the Lord. How that happened is a mystery, but he did. God brags about Job to him, but Satan asks, does Job fear God for no reason? The implication is that Job is only good to God because God has hedged Job in, made life easy for him. Satan thinks that if he makes life bitter for Job, Job will end up cursing God. So God allows Satan to do what he wants to Job's family and possessions, but is not allowed to touch Job himself. So the Sabaeans come and attack Job's servants who were plowing with the oxen and feeding the donkeys, and the servants were killed. And of course they took all the livestock, and only one servant was left, and that's the one that reported this to Job. But then we see that also lightning caused a fire that burned up his sheep and the servants who were tending them, and once again one servant was left who told Job. And the Chaldeans raided the camels and killed all but one of the servants who were tending them. But there's more. Another lone servant came and said that the wind blew down the house Job's whole family was in, and the walls fell on the young people inside. So Job tore his robes and shaved his head and fell on the ground, and what did he do? He worshiped God and said, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Satan talks to God again. And once again, God brags about Job. Job was blameless in how he responded, but Satan was not impressed. He says that Job was righteous only because he couldn't afflict Job personally. God allowed Satan then to do what he wanted, but Satan could not kill Job. Satan caused Job to have sores all over his body. Job scraped the sores with a piece of broken pottery as he sat in the ashes. Job's wife told him to curse God and die, but he said to her, you speak as one of the foolish women would speak. Shall we receive good from God, and shall we not receive evil? Once again, Job did not sin in what he said. However, 3 of Job's friends came to show him sympathy and comfort him. They didn't even recognize him at first, but when they did, they wept and tore their robes and sprinkled dust on their heads toward heaven and sat with him for a whole week without even saying a word. It wasn't a great start as far as consoling goes, in my opinion, but it would get even worse. I'm getting ahead of myself, though. Job begins the conversation with his friends by cursing the day of his birth, saying, let that night be barren, let no joyful cry enter it. Then, towards the end of chapter 3 and the end of our reading, he asks, why is light given to him who is in misery, and life to the bitter in soul, who long for death, but it comes not, and dig for it more than for hidden treasures, who rejoice exceedingly and are glad when they find the grave. Why is light given to a man whose way is hidden, whom God has hedged in? Job was uneasy and had no rest. He had found his life intolerable and death even desirable. Now he asks, why? Why would any of this happen at all? Why should the result of God's good gift of life be that those who have it wish to be rid of it? Now, Job never contemplates taking his own life. For him, death also must be God's gift. And as Job sees it, this would be the only remaining possible evidence of God's goodness. Job pictures the dead exulting upon reaching the grave. In Job's final question, there is a connection with Satan's words in chapter 1, verse 10, that God has put a hedge around Job. Satan saw God's hedge as protection. Job finds it a restriction. He feels trapped in his circumstances. Notice that Job had not been complacent in his prosperity, yet calamity struck him just the same. Job had lost God's favor, so he thought, and he had no idea why. So Job's words stab at the heart like a knife. Job, the book of Job, is a long journey, and the book is an ancient book, perhaps the most ancient in the whole Bible, but there is comfort that will be found, only we have to wait. May God be with you and